fun to talk about New Zealand Terriers, and every year I enjoy them.
Well, I'm amazed that Parramatta have taken him back. For Jared, I think it's just a miracle.
It's kind of like, in The Lion King when Simba comes back, and that's great for everyone. But in this case, it's more like Scar coming back.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
a fucked up Hamlet. Cameron Smith should be made to wear, I don't know, a really heavy headgear, just to bring him back to the field.
If you are skydiving,
Yes.
and you have one other person that you have to trust to pack that parachute, which NRL coach would you pick?
Definitely not Craig Bellamy,
Okay.
because he would want to toughen me up.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd deliberately sabotage it, because if I hit the ground and I survived, he'd probably go, you made the 17. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of The Voluntary Tackle, the only NRL podcast that went on a 3-day celebratory bender when Billy Slater lost his 300th. Today, joining me in the chair, as he always does, is the only man who's been arrested for sexually harassing a Tamagotchi, Chip Jones.
Yeah, I really wonder how they kind of got that through, because usually you need to be able to, be an inanimate object.
The Tamagotchi showed so much pain and anguish over what you did to it.
I thought that was what it was for. I thought I was winning.
Well, they're meant to simulate human behaviour, but you're not supposed to actually torment them.
Right.
And you certainly can't do the things you did to it.
Right.
So, how did you see the games?
Exciting.
Was there a particular standout performance for you?
Jarrett Hayne. He was the standout for me this week.
Well, he certainly stood out, didn't he? He stood out of the defensive line a fair bit.
If we went back into the annals of the Voluntary Tackle podcast, I think
that sentence could have gone badly wrong.
Yeah, somewhere in there you'll find a one Chip Jones talking about Jarrett Hayne sneakily coming back in just to fucking sink Parramatta from the middle.
Yeah, I think we've both been quite the critic of Jarrett Hayne.
He really showed up for us. I think he was our best tip last week.
To be honest, I think from memory you tipped Manly and I didn't. It's a horrible feeling when you tip a team and they go down 56-0. Really makes you feel like a dickhead.
You need that 60 start, really.
Yeah, you do. But I think we'll probably start, Chip, by going through some of the games, and we'll probably start with the Thursday night game. This was an interesting clash. It was down at Shark Park, Sharks v the Dragons. Interesting in the sense that the Sharks burst out to an early lead. They had a hurricane behind them. They were virtually mistake-free. In fact, I think they were for the first 40. They had a perfect completion rate. But the Dragons hung in, and in the second half, they came back and did them.
I did see a play, and I'm not sure who it was. Maybe you can help me. The winger
that's what I'm here for.
Put through just this amazing put-down. He actually caught the ball, and his feet virtually touched the ground as he put the ball down and then went out.
You're referring to one Nene McDonald, former Rooster, mate. Was very sad when he left.
Did they lure him with the family restaurant joke? Or
I'm not sure if he has a relationship to the McDonald brothers. He's very black, so probably not. But nonetheless, I actually thought he was the man of the match for me in that game. Nene McDonald had a blinder, as did Ewan Aitken.
Well, the Sharks were up 14-0.
They were, yeah.
Early.
They were.
And they got pulled back. I think the Dragons have just been, so strong, and particularly Widdop is killing it.
Yeah, Widdop's been great for a couple of years. He had a great World Cup and he had a great season before that, and he's just picked up where he left off. No, but this Dragons team, Chip, for me, the Ben Hunt factor has taken them to another level. I think they were a very good outfit last year, but just having a genuine organiser, someone in the 7 who is directing traffic and allowing Gareth Widdop to just play his natural game. Absolute golden combinations.
They've kind of got their own Cooper Cronk, really.
In a way, yeah. I mean, he's not, it's a big compliment to say he's Cooper, but he's
not Cooper. He's their Cooper. He's their
version. Yeah, he's like the Aldi version. And the next game, mate, being Roosters fans, we were very intrigued to see us back up from a horrible loss in round 1, and thankfully we did, but I still thought there was a lot of rust on the Roosters. We got away with, in the end, a 30 points to 12 win. But thankfully, the Bulldogs were pretty shithouse. I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, I think, and Trent obviously listened to our podcast last week.
I'm sure he's an avid fan.
And he may have even gone through it a few times, because one thing that was right in there was the defence. And that's how you build, you go forward. That's what your forwards are all about. They're actually from defence. So,
well, it's good to know he's taking his training cues from our show.
Look, they were great. I think Latrell Mitchell was unlucky to score in the first 5 seconds or something. It was 5 minutes in.
Yep.
And some excellent play there. I think he's going to be such a great player when he, particularly around Cronk. I think he might mature him some.
But, I think the thing there, Chip, is, Latrell Mitchell is such a dangerous weapon for the Roosters. And let's face it, he hardly touched the ball in that round one game. The Roosters didn't get it to him. It felt like a bit more of a concerted effort in this game to get the ball in his hands. And when he did, he was damaging, wasn't he?
Oh, definitely. I think overall the class was starting to show at the Roosters in week 2. But one thing I noticed was Keary is quick.
Keary makes a huge difference
Keary
to
was
that Roosters
fast,
team.
man. That was an amazing try.
Yeah, he runs so well on the edge. He's one thing about Keary is there's not a lot to him. He's a little bloke.
Where was Foran? Did he play?
Unfortunately for the Dogs,
Was he
played.
there?
Yeah,
I didn't
he
see
had
much.
a shocker, Chip.
Didn't see much of him.
I think he dropped 19 balls.
He might have been the guy I kept seeing on the playback. You know when they show the player's face after something's happened,
Just looking forlorn.
and he was not looking happy.
No.
So I saw him there, but I didn't see him in much play.
No, poor old Kieran. He hasn't looked happy in a few years. But, one day it'll turn around. He'll have a good day on the bookies.
Not to be too full on.
Where do you see the Dogs? Obviously, the Roosters, I thought they got their class showed through, and, the likes of Keary coming back really helped.
Definitely Tedesco fired. Kronk was there.
Yeah.
Manu played great.
Yeah. People don't really talk about. What are your thoughts on Manu? He's sort of an under the radar type player. I
Very
guess.
strong.
He's got great footwork.
Yeah, I get the sense that he's a bit more humble. He's not as brash as some of the other centres that are coming up in the game.
Yeah, he's not very mouthy.
No, and I really like that.
Yeah. Whereas Latrell, quite mouthy.
Yeah, Latrell needs to cool it off some.
Now, Chip, Blake Ferguson, what has happened to him in the off-season? Now, I have to say, before round one kickoff, I looked at him and I went, is he undergoing chemo? Like, he looked very lean. But then he went on to have a blinder. And he backed that up.
I think you get a lot of steroids to go with the chemo.
Is that right?
Yeah,
So it's performance enhancing.
You buff up some.
He's definitely not buffed up. He's definitely leaned up.
Well, he's leaned up, but he's still wiry.
Oh, he looks very sinewy, doesn't he?
What are you insinuating? I had to do. I'm sorry. Look, he's been amazing. Later on in the podcast, when we get to our stats, a few of the players that we've already mentioned will come up again. But there's some interesting stuff for Blake.
I love
Blake
this.
Ferguson
For the listeners, it's a very momentous occasion for this podcast. Chip has turned up with paperwork. Now, this has never happened in the duration of the show. Not only has he got paperwork, he's brought statistical analysis.
Well, look, there's a rumour going around that all the big betting agencies are interested in getting into bed with the voluntary tackle. I'm not sure how attractive they are, but look, I'm just going to keep up my end.
You've got a couple of A4 sheets of paper written in green pen, and you're hoping to lure a sporting agency. I do love your optimism.
Just get onto Twitter, get onto fucking Instagram.
Chip, on the reverse side of the coin, Chip, the Bulldogs. This is why I can't get too excited about that win. They were very ordinary. I'm actually a bit worried about them with the ball. I get the sense that they're not going to score too many points if they keep playing like that.
2 words spring to mind:
shit and house.
Well, there's those two, but weak was one. They looked weak,
yep.
and really the other one I have to say, unfortunately, is ineffectual.
They were like a middle-aged man who has an erectile dysfunction problem.
Can't afford a Ferrari or any Porsche or anything like that.
No, and I feel bad for the Bulldogs, to be honest, because they did have a new coach come in, and Kieran Foran came in, and Aaron Woods came in. There was a sort of bit of renewed energy and renewed blood, and they're sort of the same. I thought they'd change, but they're pretty flat and lifeless. Show some optimism for the Bulldogs.
How do I see the Bulldogs? Okay, so the Bulldogs...
Give them some reason not to neck themselves.
They've got a reasonably cool jersey.
Well, there's something to write home about. They have a good club history. I know that.
They used to play good.
They used to be awesome.
They used to be pretty cool.
They're shit now, but they were good.
Yeah, maybe don't focus on that then.
Maybe they should just not turn up and just watch lots of archives, like a lot of archival footage.
Archival footage. Yeah, try and be like that.
Or try to cheer Foran up, because... He's someone that he is a linchpin. We know he can be talented, but geez, he hasn't played consistently.
He's a bit of a bent pin.
Next game, Chip.
Broncos, North Queensland. What a game!
This was an amazing game where the Cowboys were just defeated by a goalpost, essentially, weren't they?
Well, it was an upright game, that's for sure. And one thing I would encourage our listeners to do is, if you go into the clock will say 26:45 or thereabouts. So you're about 15 minutes into the first half, and there are just 2 beautifully forward passes that occur at that moment for the Broncos.
Oh, they scored one off a blatant, didn't they?
Oh, there were 2 in that play. There were 2 nice ones. There was one that was definitely more forward than line, and there was one that was actually more American than Australian.
The final pass to Oates.
Yeah,
that was a good 2 metres.
Yeah, that was a fair way forward.
And the worst part is that the touch judge was literally standing right where Oates was. Like, how could you not see that?
They have magnets involved. What was going on there?
It was a weird moment, wasn't it? But I felt like the Cowboys probably were the better team, to be honest, even though the Broncos got the hop on them. It just showed that the difference between having a guy like Lachlan Coote not there for the Cowboys, he normally plays fullback, and a guy came in by the name of Ben Hampton, who does have talent, but my God, he made some big fuck-ups, and one in particular was when he didn't catch that bomb, and it bounced straight into the hands of the Broncos. I mean, that should not ordinarily be a try.
I think it was around for drop bombs. There were a few. We'll get to the Melbourne game as well, but there were a few like real clangers.
Yeah, quite a few from Billy, as you said. So, it was a weird game. I wouldn't be too worried if I was the Cowboys. I know they lost the game, but I still think they probably won on points. But remember in the last show, we thought, I think between us, that the Broncos just weren't going to be up for that game, given how they played in round one and their roster. But to their credit, they actually came out and really gave it to the Cowboys and the forwards. They just started to wilt in the second half and probably should have lost, but somehow they didn't.
Look, they raised the bar.
There's
no doubt about it. They really they read the mail.
Now, another interesting one, Chip. Well, was it interesting? I'm not sure if anyone was really watching because it probably wasn't the high-profile game of the round, but the Warriors took on the Titans over in New Zealand, Chip, and well, the Titans riding high. They won their first round game. Probably no one expected them to, but they went over there and they arm wrestled the Warriors. But in the end, the Warriors showed too much class. Now, this is a Warriors team that strikes me. I've seen now 2 games. I think that's enough to convince me they're not the same Warriors team from last year. They look a lot fitter, a lot leaner, and a lot hungrier.
Well, certainly, and you mentioned this last week, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is fit, and he's finding some form. And he's
Isaac
looking
Luke is half
amazing.
the size.
He's trimmed down unbelievably.
It's amazing. I mean, he's always been a little bit pudgy.
I wonder if he's been hanging out with Blake Ferguson.
Maybe they're both eating chemo together.
Yeah, they're eating the same cafe in the hospital there or something. I'm not sure, but he had a great game. And Sean Johnson, too, is really hitting some form. He's looking dangerous. It was an interesting game. The Warriors looked really good.
They did look good. I think the big difference over there, honestly, apart from the fact they all look a lot fitter and leaner, is the fact that Blake Green is over there now. He's a perfect foil for Sean Johnson. I think Sean Johnson's been given the task historically at the Warriors to be the chief organiser and playmaker, whereas honestly, organising is probably not his strong suit. His strong suit is to play off the top of his head and play what he sees.
Definitely. I really agree with that. I think when you've got that type of player, you don't necessarily want to build a team around him, but that number 7... how the ball's coming to you, at what stage in the ruck,
getting the structures.
Are we going forward at the moment? I mean, if you can give Sean Johnson the ball with a retreating defensive line, he's one of the most dangerous players out there, I think.
Penrith Souths, Chip, how did you see this one?
As a Roosters fan, I quite enjoyed it. There was a great first try by the Rabbits on a kick return. Which was really exciting. I love to see those, 100-metre tries.
Did you see something from the Rabbits that you thought they can make the finals this year, or is there
it's
a
funny
glimmer
you say
of hope
that. There was something that kind of made me think about the Rabbits in the top 8, and that was watching the Inglis injury scare where he had a bit of a head knock.
Yeah, he went off for an HIA, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then there was obviously that pretty ugly incident.
Yeah, and the whole Rabbits in the top 8 scenario just kind of dimmed.
For me, I think the Panthers are more robust this year. I think with Maloney going there, I think they benefited from that Maloney-Moylan swap. Because I think as talented as Moylan is, he's not a robust player. He's not what you'd call tough and grindy the way that Maloney can be. You can call Maloney a lot of things, but he's a real tough player, and he's definitely fitting right in there at the Panthers.
I really like James Maloney as a player and the way he plays and the risks he takes as well, because it doesn't always come off, but he can
He'll
play
chance
some
his arm
amazing
most of the time. Yeah.
And next to someone like Cleary,
Pretty
that's
formidable.
pretty dangerous. I mean, did you see that pass that Cleary threw?
Oh, Doesn't he have skills to burn?
Wow.
That kid's 20 or something. It's
but
insane.
that was really classy, and it kind of made me think of heritage. Like he comes from a line, like a line of excellent.
Yeah, he comes from a jawline. Jeez, he looks just like Ivan,
true.
doesn't he?
That's a good call.
He's got the same face as Ivan.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of scary.
It is a little bit creepy. Like I think they were on the Matty Johns show together this week, and I remember thinking, geez, it's just like watching one of those clones, like Dolly the sheep, but one's a little bit more wrinkled. So clearly they cloned one before the other.
That's kind of what you want if the first player was really good.
Yeah,
you
that's
want
true.
like just copy as close as you can, please. Like jawline, everything. Don't change it. Just younger.
Full respect to Ivan, I think Nathan's going to be a lot better. And Ivan was a good player, but I think Nathan could be a great player.
Well, I think he's got so much talent. This raw talent.
Do you think he'll play for the Blues this year? There's a lot of talk about it.
I hope so.
Yeah, well,
I really hope so.
There's no one else. I mean, there's a few people probably putting up their hands, but I'd say he's the leader. But we won't digress too much into Origin. That'll be for another show, I'm sure, Chip. But
West Melbourne.
West Melbourne. Now, this is probably the talk of the round, wouldn't you say?
Well, I was premonitory in my guess last week, but I changed my mind at the crucial moment.
Mate, you should have pushed ahead with your gut instinct.
Unbelievable.
You had some
I thought we were mates. I could have been a hero. Everyone was saying, this guy's amazing.
You had a really bizarre, counterintuitive moment.
Anyway.
And it would have come off for you.
So, Billy Slater, 300 games.
Yes.
Isn't it nice that you've played 300 games? How did you go in your 300th game, mate?
You lost.
You lost it, didn't you? Did you drop a ball at all?
Dropped a few.
Well, Vunivalu scored a try that was just, if you haven't seen it, you've got to that could be the best try.
It's unfair that he levitates.
Guys, if you're listening, what you do, attack the ball. Forget the body. When he does that, right, just smash the ball. Trust me, he's going to knock it on.
Difficult when he starts flying.
Yeah.
Like a black Superman.
Yeah, well.
Look, this is a huge moment, Chip, for the Tigers. Look, they were tipped, I think, by many to take out the wooden spoon. They've now taken out the scalps of seeds 1 and 2, the Roosters and the Storm, in rounds 1 and 2. If you're a fan, I mean, you've just got to be kissing the feet of Benji Marshall right now, don't you?
Well, I think this could be actually the highlight of their season.
Are you saying that it's going to go downhill from here?
Well, I don't think they're going to beat every team every week.
Well,
I think they're probably due for a loss or two.
I don't think they think they're going to be undefeated.
I think they played really well.
Who are your standouts for the Tigers?
Look, Benji's playing really well. I've got to say, I really like that. They seem to be on a roll. I've got to say, they're all kind of pulling the weight.
The Benji story is a great story, isn't it? Because this is a guy who got really complacent when he was with the Tigers, put on a lot of kilos, wasn't training hard. His own fans kind of turned on him a bit. He walked out on the club really under pretty bad circumstances, went off to Union, had a shocker, awful stint in Union. I think he played for the Auckland Blues and hardly got a game. Then he went to the Dragons. They threw him a lifeline, and it was there that he had to kind of reinvent his game. Like he relied on his natural talent and skill, and he was starting to lose that a bit. And he completely changed his game to one where he organises and he plays the percentage plays. And then he went up to the Brisbane and learned his craft under Wayne a little bit more. And now he's back where it all began. And it's like he has a new lease on life. It's one of these great rugby league stories where he's now seems renewed at the end of his career, playing a different style. Really happy for Benji. I've always rated him. I think by his own admission, he'd say that he really let things slip for a few years there. But outside of that, he's been just a wonderful asset to rugby league. It's good to see.
Oh, definitely. I agree with pretty much all of that. I think you're right. He's a little bit more contained now. He's a bit wiser, maybe, as a football player, and particularly, closing out a set or the percentage play, as you mentioned.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that momentum going. But I will say this, they're not fluking their way at the moment, the Tigers. They're playing very un-Tigers-like in the sense that their defence has this crazy starch in it. And I think that big criticism of the Tigers has always been they can throw the ball around, but if you take it to them in the middle, they'll lie down. Because they've had some years in the wilderness, the Tigers. I mean, they'd be a tough team to support. Anyway, good on you Tigers fans. I hope you get a few more wins along the way. Now, Chip, I know you're busting to talk about this game. A new PB for the Manly Seagulls. They beat the Eels 54-0 at Brookie on Sunday. You don't often see a modern game of rugby league where a team looked to have just given up, Chip, but I think a lot of those Eels players threw their hands in the air, didn't they?
Look, they did, and we're partly responsible here at the voluntary tackle because we have been pretty hard on Jared now for like the best part of a month. We
It's
weren't
not just us, mate. So have the authorities.
Yeah, well, we weren't kind to him in the preseason. We had very little to talk about, and but we found time for Jared, and he really came through for us. I thought I was really happy.
Well, he had what you'd call the quintessential Barry Crocker, didn't he? I mean, I think he made about 3 handling errors. He made about 4 or 5 misreads in defence, dropped the ball over the line. The only thing he didn't do was get himself sent off for a spear tackle.
You know, I think what he's really clever the way he does it is that he leaves a little in reserve. Just when you think it can't get any worse, there's no way you can actually hurt us anymore from here. He'll kind of look at you and say, well, maybe I will and maybe I won't. And
Maybe
most times
I'll throw a 4-metre forward pass.
Most times he doesn't, but then just when you're starting to, then he does it again in a way that you couldn't see it coming.
It was weird, actually, because in round 1, although they got defeated, I thought Jared actually was one of their better players.
See, that's what he does. You see, you know,
he lulls you into that sense of
he'll
false
do
security.
it he can do it. He can do anything. He just chooses to be a fucktard.
Outside of the Hayne factor, what went wrong for the Eels in this game, Chip, the way you saw it?
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, it was men versus boys. It really was. Okay, so when it's 54-0, I can't really tell you that, you know, Parramatta's defence wasn't very good because it's 54-0.
Yeah.
I can't really tell you that Manly didn't have some great play because it's 54-0. What else can you say other than, you know, it was Jared?
On the flip side of the coin, the Manly Sea Eagles, they looked great. I mean, I know it's a Sunday at Brookie. Those Trebojevic brothers, they're already in the Origin team, aren't they? I mean, you'd have to pick them 1 and 2. They're amazing.
Yeah, but you see, New South Wales selectors are an interesting breed. They don't always do what you or I might think is reasonable.
That's true. They'll probably go Dale Copley and Scott Goulet. And the final game of the round, I'd have to say, this was probably the most entertaining game of the round, which is the Raiders v the Knights. The Knights scraping home in the final couple of minutes of the game, 30 points to 28. End-to-end action, sometimes some questionable defence, but geez, it was good to watch.
It was a hard-hitting game.
There was a lot of ball movement in that one. And, you know, I have to say, again, we've mentioned it on this podcast, but Kalen Ponga, his footwork isn't of human born, I don't think. He moves in a way I've never seen before.
Do you think that's like dancing lessons or something? Has he been hanging out with Roger and
Possibly.
going dancing or
Do you think at
something?
night they just head to some jazz ballet
They
just
do
to
like
tune
the
up on their NRL?
Michael Jackson revival
Well, you know.
dance.
I mean, if you're going to a Michael Jackson revival...
Don't even...
Yeah,
Just,
I won't
just
even touch
move
it.
on.
Won't even
Don't touch it. Don't even
I know.
think about touching
So many
it.
11-year-old boys said that to him.
Don't even think about touching it.
Mate, now, the Raiders, what do you take away from a game like that where it's 30 points to 28? It's a very high-scoring affair. You sort of get that feeling that those kind of games aren't the kind of games that are going to win you a premiership, but it all counts on the ladder, I guess.
Look, it was an interesting game to watch as a Roosters man because, you know, the first try actually read Mitchell Pearce, Connor Watson, try to Aiden Guerra.
Should the Roosters claim that try
Well,
as their
look,
own?
I think we worked hard on that combo.
I feel like that Newcastle have just adopted that try, and
Well,
we're the birth mum.
Yeah, well, I think maybe what it is Nick has actually come up with a really smooth move and actually sold a play to Newcastle.
So he's actually selling off.
He's sold the F42. He's sold that play. We're going to do F42, and
Right.
you have, and he said, look how well this works.
So he works on commission. He's
And
just
you
probably
can-
he'd
you
probably
can-
get royalties
Yeah, well, I
on
want
that.
$3 million for the play.
Well, that's a lot of money for a
Yeah,
play.
but there are 3 players in the play.
It's over the odds, Nick.
Newcastle, booming place. You want to be a player? Let's talk. Let's dance.
You drive a hard bargain, Nick. Welcome back to the voluntary tackle. Now, I would say welcome, but I'm fucking angry, Chip, and you know why.
I know why you're angry.
Yeah.
It all comes down, basically, if I'm right or wrong, it boils down to a 1 Mitchell Pearce.
Of course it does. He's the only guy that can manage to angry up my blood more than a Viagra pill meets a Metamucil. I don't know what the fuck that means, but it's not good, Chip. And I alluded to this last show, and it turns out I was right. Now, for the listeners who missed it, this is what I said. Now, there was, I think, a bit of a coded jibe from Mitch Pearce in the post-match press conference towards his old club. He said, and I quote, "It's a great feeling up here. I've never experienced this at club level before." bit of a cloak and dagger shot at the old Roosters, isn't it, mate?
Well-
I thought I'm happy for you, Mitch, but fuck you.
Do you feel, personally, as a Rooster fan, that it's a little bit of a shot at you?
Well, I'm ropeable,
Okay.
frankly. And I'll tell you why. I mean, it wasn't just the coded jibe from last week. He's gone ahead and done it again, Chip. And this is what he said this week. After the victory against the Canberra Raiders, he said, and I quote again, "I'm sure we'll get plenty of Knights fans to the game next week." He's referring to the game against the Roosters. "We
I'm
seem
aware
to
of
get
that.
more than Roosters fans." End quote.
Well, you do. You probably get more Newcastle fans in Newcastle than you do.
He's saying that basically having a shot at the fan base of the Sydney Roosters, the club he just left.
I guess I should clarify. What I mean is that in Newcastle, if they're playing a home game against the Roosters, there might be more Newcastle fans.
But
there.
this isn't a home game, it's our
But
home game.
if you're playing the Roosters, he might have forgotten that they're actually Rooster fans.
I want to know why Mitchell Pearce is so angry with the Roosters, because all we did was sack him and leave his career in tatters. I mean, what's his beef?
Can you blame the Roosters for that?
Well, we actually didn't sack him. And this is what I think annoys me a little bit more, is that the media sort of portrays Mitchell Pearce as a victim here. And
You feel that because they asked Mitchell to stay and he didn't want to stay,
yeah,
that
he
he
left
really
of his own
doesn't
accord.
have much to complain about.
Yeah, he left of his own accord.
Yeah.
And Cooper Cronk wanted to work with him. Trent Robinson wanted to keep him. Nick Politis had a chat with him and said, "Will you stay?" He decided to leave. And now we cop all this shit from Mitchell Pearce the next week or the next couple of weeks about the Roosters not being a popular club, and I've never had this kind of atmosphere before. I've got to tell you, I am chomping at the bit for this next game.
It's going to be a
against the
huge
Knights.
game.
There's going to be a lot of venom there from the crowd, I think.
I can see the Roosters winning by a few points in this one, I've got to say. I really think that he might have... I mean, it's a funny one. He's actually fired us up.
I've got a bit of a shout-out for you, Chip. I am putting a shout-out to every Queensland Maroons fan to get down to the Sydney Football Stadium for the Roosters v the Knights. Because if there's one thing we know, it's the fact that Mitchell Pearce does not play well when he's surrounded by Queenslanders.
You know what it is? At the voluntary tackle, you can't see Eamon, but I can see him. And I can tell you one thing.
You're glad it's a non-visual medium.
He already has that air of smug joy that he hasn't quite understood why he has it yet, but I think it's a premonitory feeling that Sunday may well be one of the finest days in his rugby league viewing career. And
Will Pearce get stretched off?
That's a bit harsh and a bit dark for where I was going. And we wouldn't wish injury on anybody.
No, not serious injury.
So many places we could go from there. But
Just a severe bruising. Welcome back to the Voluntary Tackle. Now it's that time of the show where we give our listeners the option of guessing the secret sound competition. For those who missed it last week, here it is again. And a huge congratulations to the Twitter user @TheRealBradArthur, who successfully identified that sound as Jared Hayne's clavicles breaking under the weight of attempted tackles. Now, Chip, we've already alluded to it earlier in the show, but Jared Hayne, now he did have an out-and-out shocker in the last game against Manly. And we're asking the question on the show, should Jared Hayne have to give some money back for every shit game that he has? I feel that's just fair.
maybe you should have to give something else back. Maybe you should
Some
have
blood?
Yeah, I don't know.
Should you have to donate organs for every knock-on?
Maybe you should have to donate a toe.
Okay, why a toe in particular? It's
Because
seems very specific.
because it'll affect you running a bit, but it won't stop you running.
Won't he
at
get
first.
worse though? I feel like that might
Over
be
time? He'll
yeah,
get worse. Yeah,
There'll
so
certainly
he's
be a
either-
diminishing return.
He's got to get better, or he's going to get worse.
Yeah, you should be really giving him extra toes in that case.
That's a good
because he's
point.
not fast right
Where
now.
would we get him?
I don't know. You could probably go to a morgue.
Can't have mine.
You could just ransack a morgue.
You
or
get
something.
designer toes. He'd probably want
Well,
high end
You probably
toes.
you
I would
could.
think.
I think he would. He'd want to pimp it out, wouldn't he? He'd have a fucking 24-carat diamond in it,
Would he get really attractive women's toes,
and just
sewn on next to his own, so he could jerk off in the shower?
It's certainly not beyond him. But no, I think Jared should have to give something back, Chip, because he's taken so much.
There's a very interesting Chinese proverb about Jared Hayne. and it goes,
I feel like you're lying.
you've just got to give it to him. Doesn't matter what it is. You've just got to give it to him. Whether it's a new car, a pretty girlfriend, a great contract, a fucking proper serve for being a prick, whatever.
Just a nail gun in the patella. Now, any other kind of restitution that you think Jared Hayne should make? Should you have to do community service? Should you have to work with small children? Sick children.
What I reckon might work is you could kind of like send him into a country that you wanted to destabilise.
Just to give us a working example, say you sent Jared Hayne to Iran and you wanted to destabilise the regime. How would Hayne be best embedded? I mean, if there was some kind of major export that relied on catching and passing, you'd fuck them up straight away, wouldn't you? If you put Hayne in there.
I don't know. I think you'd find he's talented in different ways too. If
That'd
it comes to
give
making,
you the shits, wouldn't it? If he started to perform well overseas.
Well, you see, you've got to tell him that he's actually trying to help the Iranians.
So he needs to be an unwitting party to
course,
that espionage.
of course.
You can't let Jared in on it.
Jared wouldn't have half the wit necessarily.
He's definitely got half of one, isn't he?
I'm not sure he qualifies as 0.5.
All I know is if I was a Parramatta fan, Chip, I'd certainly be demanding something back, and it might be his testicles.
If you collected a few players like that, you could have one of those fly swatter hats.
On that really unsavoury note, we'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Voluntary Tackle. Now, Billy's 300th, Chip, did not go the way Billy had planned. And Poor Billy. But you know, Benji Marshall showed some great sportsmanship. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but upon winning, Marshall insisted his players form a guard of honour for Billy, even though he lost.
Excellent.
My question is this. Does being nice to Billy Slater not sit right with you? Because it doesn't sit right with me.
Look, I'm not sure this is necessarily being nice to him.
Okay.
I think this might be, what could be nicer than actually beating Billy Slater on his 300th game than inviting him to walk through the team that beat him and look at him.
Oh, so you think this is sort of a plan just to rub it in?
Yeah.
That's actually
There you go,
pretty
Billy.
good,
Have a big celebration, mate. Good game.
Yeah, well
Thanks,
done, mate.
Billy.
You
We'll all
tried really
stand here
hard,
for you.
mate.
Look, mate. You have a go. You run past all of us. Go on.
Yeah. So in the same way you'd encourage the div kid at school when he came 8th, you give him that 8th ribbon in the race, and you'd say, "Well done, mate."
Yeah. Give him a tap on the back. And
I quite like that. So you think Benji Marshall, at his essence, wasn't being
He's
sportsmanlike?
gotten a lot smarter.
He's a great game
He's
manager.
gotten a lot smarter. I think he's learnt from Wayne Bennett. And
Just how to be an arsehole.
Well, just how to stick it in a little bit.
Yeah.
And whether the other guys know it was you or not is irrelevant.
Do you think it was interesting? I thought that we'd definitely see tears from Billy because obviously he's certainly shown some history for crying on the field. There were no tears. He held it in quite well. Do you think he's taking less estrogen these days?
I think he only wanted to cry if he won.
Yeah, he usually has tears of joy, doesn't he?
I don't think he likes the other ones.
I think he tends to secrete fluids from other areas
They're
when
hard
he
to
loses.
find. I heard a rumour that Billy Slater's unhappy tears are worth like 5 times more than
On eBay?
than the happy ones.
Yeah, okay. Interesting trade.
You can make different stuff with it or something like that. I'm not sure.
Well, nonetheless, his 300th game did not go well, and interestingly, in the game, I mean, he obviously has been a great player, but I like the way I've already used the past tense. He still is a great player, but he had an out-and-out shocker in the game, didn't he? He dropped 3 bombs, I think. He made some handling errors. It was very un-Billy Slater-like.
Yeah, maybe the number got to him or something. I'm not sure.
Melbourne are great at sending out their players in those milestone games in style. I can't remember the last time a Storm player of note lost a milestone game. It's a rarity.
I think Cronk's got a lot to do with that.
Yeah, no Cronk there now.
He's a game master.
If Cronk was playing,
100%.
Billy would have won that 300
He'd probably have won his 400th.
already somehow.
Yeah, by then.
Here's my question though, Chip. Given Cameron Smith's proclivity for being able to reverse decisions, I'm actually surprised that he hasn't been able to reverse the 300th game yet and just make it the 299th. Maybe he might still be able to have some success with the refs off the field and the 300th game will happen all over again next week.
Can I just wind the odometer back a bit?
Yep.
I'll drive in reverse. Everything will be fine. It doesn't work. He clearly didn't watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
In fact, that should be mandatory training material for most NRL teams, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Watch as many Matthew Broderick films from the 80s as you possibly can.
Matthew Broderick's a great way to just test your alcohol intake. Because if you can say Matthew Broderick, you get to drive on, sir.
It should be every sobriety test. Speaking of which, didn't he nail someone in his car? Pretty sure he did. Pretty sure he killed someone while he was driving once. Interesting
Is
reference.
that a fact?
I think it is. Certainly know how to bring the podcast down. The Voluntary Tackle is giving 10 lucky listeners the chance to own a very special piece of NRL sporting memorabilia. We currently have a framed series of photos commemorating Billy Slater's 300th game. This beautifully crafted montage features all of the star fullback's fumbles under the high ball, his poor reads in defence, and that baffling moment he threw the ball over the touchline by 25 feet. Accompanying the photos is a signed referee's whistle that was used to award all of the tries Billy led in. This masterful visual display of anguish are all set to a painstakingly handcrafted motif of a frazzled Craig Bellamy sea-bombing away in the coach's box. So call now to pick up your slice of NRL history so that you can boast to your mates that you were there the day Slater blew it on the big stage. Call in the next 15 minutes and receive a small vial of Billy's tears of despair that was secreted after the full-time siren, a fluid authenticated and signed by an independent GP. The Voluntary Tackle would like to make clear that Billy Slater has not sanctioned the sale of this item, and in particular making profit from the sale of his girly tears is strictly prohibited. Chip, Josh Dugan, selfish guy, as we know. Now, we talked on this show only a couple of weeks ago about the chances of Josh Dugan stealing the fullback role from Valentine Holmes, and it's only taken him a fortnight to do that. Josh Dugan's already been relocated to share the role, inverted commas, with Holmes, and we all know what that means. It's a bit of a transition. It strikes me as a good question for the podcast. What other roles can Josh Dugan steal at the Sharks? I mean, for now it's the fullback role, but we know he's a selfish guy. There's a good chance he's going to try and steal other things. What other roles do you think Josh Dugan might steal?
Well, start at the entry level and just drive the bus. Sack the bus driver. Say, I'm going to do this. I can do it better than these.
So you'll start low down in the
Yeah.
tree, you think?
Yeah.
You could be right on the money there. In fact, I actually think he will build himself up, and eventually he will probably try to steal the coach role and take Shane Flanagan's job. But then I think he'll run into problems because I don't think he'll find it easy to coach himself because he'll tell himself to do things, and Dugan being Dugan will probably just ignore him. So he'll probably get into a bit of a tight tussle with himself. He'll do things like, I don't know, he'll impose a drinking ban, and then he won't follow it. So it'd be a very frustrating cycle that Josh Dugan would find himself in.
Bit of a confrontation for him there.
He'd lay down some pretty tight rules and then flout them.
And then just ignore them. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how you deal with that. I think he'll, as a player coach, probably what he'd need to do is actually get in, somehow get on the board. Because if you can get on the board, then maybe you've got some sway.
I think he could probably take out a CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, he's selfish enough
to
do it. The problem is we know that on the field, Josh Dugan can he's known for cheating. You know, he kind of rorts the rules.
He'd fit right in.
Well, I mean, he's got to be a high-risk candidate for a salary cap breach if you put him on the board. I mean, he's got form on the board for cheating already.
He's got
Maybe
form.
keep him away from the accounts.
We need to put together a campaign to fire the IT guy at NRL.com. Because
You got a bit of a beef about this, Chip, off
none
air.
of their videos play. I'm waiting 15 minutes. The ad loads every time.
Okay.
But the rest is not there, and then the site fails.
Are you sure you're not just infested with malware?
No,
from all those pornography sites.
I went over to Fox Sports and First Time.
There you go.
First Time.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Chip, because I've been on their app and it is shithouse now.
Yeah.
It was much better
Shocking.
last year.
Shocking. Seriously, I think we can get this guy fired. I think we've got a chance.
Well, let's not be sexist. It might be an incompetent female IT person.
Yeah, but we
as
can't
well.
get them fired. That's right.
True.
Yeah,
You've
you
got
can't do
Buckley's.
that, yeah.
Buckley's have chance. You know what I've noticed even about the NRL site? Even the colour scheme's slightly shitter this year. The green has changed to a weird, faded kind of Iraqi green.
Well, I've noticed that it's even infected the club sites, because if you go to the particular club that you want to watch the press conference for, it's the same fucking backdrop.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Chip. I think the tech is awful, and it's sort of like stepping back into the early 90s. It feels like, it's got a very MS-DOS kind of aesthetic, and I'm not happy about it. So if anyone else has any complaints about NRL.com, please write into us on our Twitter. We're at Voluntary Tackle. It's a very strange question, we know, but we're trying to up our social media engagement, aren't we, Chip?
Look, just get in touch. Let's rock.
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
pretty
like,
fledgling podcast. We've
what
only
if-
really just started. So, if you have any questions for us that you'd like us to read out on air, I think would we do that, Chip? Do we feel generous enough?
I would certainly read a question on air.
What if it would be any question? What if it was about
Well,
of a personal nature about your mother? You probably wouldn't read that.
I'm a bit of a free speech advocate, so I'd probably read the question. How I answer that would be up to me, of course, and
You'd
that's
be a
only
lot
right.
of profanities if it was about your
But
mum.
I think we could step to that plate and say, look, if you want to write us a question, we'll read the question
Yep.
on air.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And particularly you, Turtle Wilson, our number one fan, mate. You may not know this. We've got a very small photo of you in the corner of the studio, and it was taken with a telescopic lens. And probably the less questions said about how we obtained it, the better. But just know,
Basically, what happened was we had this guy, right, Turtle Wilson, and the turtle said g'day to us. On one of those, was it on the line?
It was
Something like that. He was on the line.
Yeah, on the Google.
Okay, so I have no idea about these things.
Yeah, I think it was uploaded on the Google.
But this guy said hi, and so we're sending a shout out back.
Appreciate your work, Turtle, and all the other very, very few NRL fans that we have on Twitter. Please keep tweeting at us because we are small and we will probably mention you. And we should probably say this as well, Chip. We discussed this off air. We've got a bit of a competition running at the moment. For the person who asks the best question, we will actually give you a signed Steeden football by Scott Goulet, who used to play for the St George Dragons and the Roosters back in the 90s. In fact, we're not sure if it's the real Scott Goulet or just a tall, middle-aged man that we met at the pub.
I actually wrote that on there.
Oh, was that you?
That was me.
Okay.
But yeah, they can still have the football.
Okay, you can still take it. So just remember, it's still a real competition.
It's a football.
Yeah.
I think it's a real football.
Signed by Chip pretending to be Scott Goulet, which is strange. In fact, that's more of a collector's item. Just as a bit of an alternative as well, Chip, if anyone wants to answer this, we like to throw out really taxing questions to our listenership because we know they're a sort of smarter than your average bear type, I think, if they're listening to us, clearly. Which is why I think that we need to tax their brain trust to find out who would win in a game of Twister between Josh Dugan and Paul Gallen. And here's the important part. Why? That's the part we want to know. Not who would win, but
why would
they win? Yeah. And very quickly, not to give them too much of a lead-in, Chip, but who do you think would win and why?
Well, because we've already discussed this, I'll be very careful how I answer this. But let's just say if you go back, we've referred to Paul Gallen as a
tree, I believe.
What could that mean?
It's very cryptic, and I get the feeling very highly insensitive to the Gallen family. It's hard to say. Got wood? It's getting weird. We'll be back after this. Chip, we're like ideas people. I mean, no
Who
one
gave you that idea?
Well, not us, but we certainly don't have that reputation in our private lives. But I want to become ideas people for the purposes of this NRL podcast. I want to present that as an image. So I want us to inject at least one new rule that the NRL should adopt each week, just as a talking point. And we're full of ideas. As you said, a lot of them were bad, especially that one you mentioned about having the disabled referee. That would never work. But what I'm saying is that maybe we can put some rules in that will work and just give our listeners something to chew on.
I think there should be some kind of rule brought in about the goalposts.
Okay.
Like if you hit the goalpost on purpose,
Yep.
do you get a point? Do you get a point deducted? We've got to do something because you can't have the goalpost taking up players
So
in a game.
would
like
you... okay.
It was blatant.
It was blatant. You're talking about the
Stepped
Cowboys
right
Brisbane
into
game.
You stepped right into the line of the ball.
It could be a weird one. I would like to see 4 balls on the field at once. I want to see...
Everyone have a go.
Actually, maybe just 1 ball each. And then
Okay.
everyone's allowed to score.
Yep.
And you can take multiple balls if you want.
All right. So you can score a double.
You can score a quadruple.
You can score a quadruple.
You can have
okay.
you can have octuplets.
So would it be strange to watch, 26 grown men jumping on top of a ball at the same time, or as many balls as they could carry?
Well, you wouldn't have to jump on someone else's because you'd definitely have your own one.
Balls everywhere.
You'd have to have lots of refs because it would be hard to keep track.
How would you check the grounding?
You'd have to have a lot of cameras.
Because you've got to ground 5 balls in a go. That's tough. I mean, did any of them fall out?
Just ask Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, it'll be very difficult because I think you're right. You've already talked me out of this one, Chip. I think that would be an idea that's too hard to scale. I don't think it's out of control. Yeah. I wasn't thinking.
Suits you.
Another rule, every game should contain at least one Hopewati. So it doesn't have to be John. Although
is that
ideally,
the reference to the manoeuvre?
Well, it could be if it was John, but it might be just Will. It could be one of the many hundreds of children that he has. But I think every game would benefit from having a Hopewati on the field, ideally a violent one, because some are peaceful, some are violent. I would probably propose that we had at least one quite violent Hopewati.
Which Hopewati would you like for the Roosters?
John, obviously.
The original. Okay.
Yeah, the original and the best. I mean, a sequel's never going to beat the original.
All right, so this week we've got some interesting games coming up, and it's time for the voluntary tackle tips of the round. Round 3, here we go. So we've got the Storm at home to the Cowboys. How do you see this one, Eamon?
Well, we're going to start off with the game of the round, aren't we, Chip? Look, and this is the reason people listen to our podcast, I think, because, we're obviously legendary tipsters. And at the moment, the tally stands at... What does the tally stand at, Chip?
You're ahead by a game.
Okay, so it's still 1 point in it, is it, between us?
Yeah,
after the first 2 rounds?
Let's just go with that.
I think it's 10-9. But, Chip, no, this is, on a serious note, this is a cracker of a game. I mean, Melbourne versus the Cowboys, both major premiership threats. Honestly, it's a really tough one to predict. Melbourne at home, I know people would back them in normally, but I get the feeling that the Cowboys might get them, but in a very tight game. It could even be only by 1 point.
Okay, so we'll put you down for 1 point to the Cowboys. I've gotten 10 points, Cowboys.
Okay, why do you think by such a margin?
Well, I think the Cowboys are going to start to fire. Jonathan Thurston's due for a big match-winning game, I think.
Well, I've got to tell you, for a guy that's short of a gallop, he's come back from a major injury last year. God, he was playing well against the Broncos.
He's really going to fire, and I think this is where Billy's going to suffer a 301 and none, basically.
Do you think they'll have like one of those 300 and thirsts banners for Billy? Because it didn't go well for his 300.
They'll just keep putting him up until he wins a game.
Until he wins one, yeah.
What if he never wins another game?
Well, that would make it funnier by the 10th one, wouldn't
Benji Marshall's genius. It all comes from the way they paraded him off. All right, let's look at our next game of the round. We've got the Bulldogs at home to the Panthers.
Penrith will win. Easy.
Well, we've both tipped Penrith here. I've gone by 6. You've gone by 10 points.
I have.
So it'll be interesting to see. We've got a 10-point, and we're both tipping the first 2 away teams. Interestingly,
look, it's a pretty. This is one of the easy ones for me. I think, just based on what I've seen from the Bulldogs so far in attack. I think they're definitely a team that has presented very little with the ball. I think Kieran Foran needs to find his feet before they are a team that can lay on many points at all. He had an absolute shocker against the Roosters last week. I think he made 98 errors. Whereas the Panthers, you have to say, have been quite impressive. They're 2 from 2. I know they've found themselves down in games.
Cleary's firing.
Nathan Cleary's very good. I mean, a great halves pairing, good forward pack. They've got very few weaknesses as a team. You'd imagine they're going to be there in the finals. So it could be a long night for the Bulldogs.
Let's see what happens. Game 3, we've got the West Tigers and the Broncos.
Isn't this a tantalising game? Like, I got to say, beginning of the season, you'd just think, the Tigers have got no chance. But given what we've seen, you'd have to say on performance, the Tigers are a big chance of making it 3 from 3.
Well, we both tipped them. I'm going the West Tigers. You're going the West Tigers too. I'm going to get them by 4, and you think they'll win by 6. Look, I think Benji Marshall's going through a bit of a renaissance.
No, he certainly is.
He's playing very well. I really like the West Tigers forward pack. They're muscling up. They're pretty good in defence. They're not letting in any points, really.
And it's never really been their trademark of recent times.
That's
so
right.
This is a very different West Tigers team. And I have to say this, I'll put it on the record. They haven't won by flukes. They've actually won through grafting, grit, and good performances. Both games have been really tough wins. So you've really got to hand it to them. And the Broncos, I know they won last game. I thought they were very lucky to win that game. And they were ordinary in the first round. So on performance, I think I've got to go the Tigers. Next game on the card, Chip, Raiders versus the Warriors. You'd just hate to be betting your testicles on this one, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I prefer not to bet them.
Unless you get really desperate, unless you've already hocked your Rolex.
Unless I can avoid it. Interestingly enough, this is the first game where we're tipping different teams. So I am going to go the Raiders by 8.
Okay, so you think the Raiders will finally open up the checkbook?
I think they're gonna win this game. I like them at home. It's just so cold. It doesn't matter what time of year it is.
But look who they're playing, mate. They're playing the Warriors.
They're playing the Warriors.
Not known for their balmy nights.
No, but the Warriors don't travel.
Well, they're
Not
never
that
used to
great
travel, but
traveling.
I don't know, Chip. I have to say, I started off the year thinking, this will just be another typical Warriors year. I can't see major differences in their squad, the same coach. But then the first 2 rounds, I've seen something different from the Warriors that I haven't seen in the last few years. And
Bit of composure.
well, a bit of fitness. Bit of hunger. I mean, they're a team that's known for being a confidence team, and if they get on top, they'll rout you. And if you bully them, they'll lie down. But the first 2 rounds, they seem to have come out playing a much graftier game. And I will say Blake Green being there is going to make a big difference to them. Sean Johnson, if he takes that load off organising for Sean Johnson, he can just play his natural game. And at the moment, Johnson's having a field day in the first 2 rounds. So I've got to go the Warriors.
Let's see what happens. So you're going to take them by 2?
Yeah, tight one.
I'll have the Raiders by 8.
Okay. Next game on the card are the Bunnies, who are none from 2 so far, taking on the high-flying Eagles, coming off their 54-0 drubbing of the Eels. Am I going out on the limb and saying you're going to tip the Eagles?
Let's have everyone together all at once. Just say who they're going to tip.
Okay, you're going to count us in?
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Newtown
Manly.
Jets. Oh, I fucked it up again.
No,
Do it again.
1, 2, 3.
Larry
Manly.
sorry, you just go.
Okay.
You just do it.
Everyone else has got this twice. Should we
Sorry.
do one more for you?
One more time.
We'll
for the
do one more
dickheads.
for you. Okay, one more for you guys.
1, 2, 3.
Manly.
Manly will win.
Manly are probably going to win that game.
Yep. Is GI going to play? I know he got a bit of a HIA head assessment last game, didn't he?
Look, he's, I really like Greg Inglis, and it's hard to say this, but, I hope
Don't say it, mate. You're not saying his career's over, are you? Don't say it, Chip.
I'm not going to say anything further to what you just said. I'm not going to own up to that or anything. You said that, not me. All I'm going to say is I think these Seagulls will win. I think I'm tipping them by 18 points. I've got you down here for 14 points. So we're both feeling pretty strong. They're going to win by a fair margin.
I think so. Well, look, just in the first 2 rounds, you could say the Bunnies haven't presented too much. They've got some good players in there. They've got a sprinkling of some really class players. But the way Manly had performed, I mean, they were unlucky to go down in round 1. They belted the Eels, who were supposed to be a top 4 contender. I mean, how can you
Didn't
tip?
that fall apart quickly?
Certainly did. You couldn't go against the Eagles. Interesting game coming up next, Chip. We've got the Eels taking on the Sharks. Now, both of these teams, none from 2. I don't think too many people would have predicted that going into this season.
Makes it a tough game to pick, actually. I think it's going to be a tight one. I just, I can't tip Parramatta. I think I'm going to have to give them 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not going to tip them. I don't feel it. Right?
You're going to suspend them
I'm
from
just
your
gonna
tipping
suspend
comp.
them from betting. But the Sharks pretty much useless. I'm going to go the Sharks by 2. There might only be 2 points in the game.
Okay, interesting. Look, I actually think the Sharks haven't been too bad. They've been clunky, definitely clunky. They're working on their combinations. They've changed around their spine a little bit. So where Moylan will play, where Dugan will play, where Holmes will play. So, yeah, there's a few combination issues for the Sharks, but I'm pretty sure they will find their feet eventually. Whereas I've got to say that the Eels, until Gutho comes back, I think they're fucked. I don't see them really. I mean, their forwards in particular have really underperformed in the first 2 rounds. They've been a bit soft and slow and sluggish. They've got some good players there, but my God, they're playing some bad footy.
Well, is it time to axe the coach? Has it come to that?
You're already going after Brad
Already.
Arthur.
Well,
I like Brad Arthur. I don't think it's all his fault.
No, I don't think it's his fault at all. I told you what I thought earlier on.
What was that? Tell the listeners.
Look, just get rid of Jared Hayne. Just start there.
Oh, that old chestnut.
Just say, thanks, Jared, see you, mate, and then work from there. Just have a good, honest team.
Sounds pretty straightforward to me. We move on to the Titans-Dragons game. Now, the Titans are a bit of an X-factor commodity. They've certainly got a lot of talented players. They're 1 from 2, whereas the Dragons are virtually the form team in the competition at the moment, with Ben Hunt calling the shots. Good forward pack, good back line. For me, it's the Dragons in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to take him too. I'm not particularly impressed by the Titans. I'm going to take the Dragons by 18 points. I think they're going to romp it in.
I think the big factor in this game will be if Ash Taylor is playing, and I don't know if he is. I think he is, but he is the heart and soul of that team's attacking prowess, and he got them out of jail against the Raiders in round one. Without him last week, they really struggled. So if he's playing, they might give the Dragons a run for their money. I wouldn't put it in the bank, but just based on performance, you've got to go the Dragons.
All right, let's look at our favourite game.
Is it our favourite?
I think this could be the most favoured game of your football viewing history. I think you're just going to have such a good day on Sunday.
Chip, I very rarely use the word pumped because I don't want to come across as a 17-year-old dyslexic asshole. But I am pumped for this game.
You didn't come across like that at all.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. The Roosters versus, it's Mitchell Pearce's homecoming to a home that no longer wants him, which will be interesting. It's like when, you have a son. Not a favourite son, more like a backdoor sprog.
Like a scar.
Yeah, like an illegitimate son. And the dad no longer wants that son hanging around their house. You kick him out. And then one day he comes home begging for food. It's kind of like that. I think the Roosters will probably just kick him off their porch, but it'll be fun to watch.
Well, I think this is going to be a really big game. I'd be lying if I said I've looked forward to a game as much as this one. Partly because, there's so many Roosters. This is like a Roosters A and B game. This is like the A side versus the B side. And if the A side is what it's supposed to be, we win.
But I got to say, on performance, the Knights have probably outplayed us so far in the first two rounds. But just get the feeling we might be amped for this one. Again, apologies if I sound like some retro dickhead by using the word amped. But I think that the Roosters crowd in particular, we're going to get a big crowd there on a Sunday, and a lot of them won't be happy, Chip, with what Mitchell Pearce said about them. And remember, for all of our listeners, he said Roosters fans were dickheads. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to tip the Roosters to win at home. I think they're going to win by at least 4 tries.
4 tries?
I'm going to go 22 points up.
That's a massive call. I feel like that might be in a dreamland, but I certainly would love to be a part of it. I'm hoping the Roosters I think they might get home in a thriller. Well, look, Chip, that brings us to the end of the show. Have we been informative? Because we haven't been in our history, but I feel like this one, we definitely weren't.
No, we're pretty much safe.
Yeah, that's good.
There's no danger of that.
No.
No one's left more informed when they tuned in.
In fact, I think our show is more of a vacuum. I think when people tune in, they know less about footy at the end.
Yeah, if you know too much and you want to actually, lower your IQ some, give us a listen.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening anyway, for those people who did hang on to the end. Until next time, just do what Mitchell Pearce would do and spurn the hand that feeds you. Good night. Who would win in a drop goal competition between Napoleon Bonaparte and Malcolm Turnbull?
Napoleon wasn't known for his drop goals. Malcolm Turnbull
That's an understatement. Don't go out on an historical limb. You may not know this, but Napoleon wasn't known for his snapshots.
He was shit at field goals.